It's the VMX show, season 6! Oh, for Christ's sake.
Hey now, and welcome to the VMX show. This is season 6, episode 10. And we're in the tail end of the season here, only 2 more episodes after this. This is going to be a rather short show today because I don't have a guest with me. And on top of that, it's not a whole lot of news. I do have a lot of questions and comments to get through. So let's do that, huh? Alright, let's see. Starting off with Jesse Lego Boy says FCPU. That's just what he posted, FCPU. Now, I just looked around to see if I could figure out what the hell he's talking about. And it could be anything. So, thanks for the stupid comment. Moving on. CoolVids19 says, VOT is your opinion. He wrote that, VAT. VOT is your opinion on HD collection re-releases. I think it's a good thing, actually, because it, I mean, I don't care about, them being in HD, although it's good to have them look nicer on modern televisions. Things like the Eco and Shadow of the Colossus collection, for example, for PlayStation 3. Both Eco and Shadow of the Colossus are very difficult to get a hold of, and, they're very good games. There are issues with some, like the Silent Hill collection that I talked about last week in the news, has multiple issues with it on both systems. But generally, as long as it's done well, I do think it's a good idea. Then Jesse Lego Boy returns with another comment, and he typed bad on purpose, I guess. He says, Necro, what is your favorite Thai of pho do you lick to eat lol xd? This proves how easy it is to look like a dumbass on the internet. Jesse out. Okay, so there you have it. Yeah. I'm a friggin' beast son. I can't believe you chose that as your username. He said, I am very shocked at your opinion of Earthbound. How disappointing. You could have said no, but don't say it's crappy. It's very underrated. As for Mother 3 for GBA was the best RPG I ever played, and I played a lot of RPGs. Okay, well, obviously you haven't played very many good ones if you think Mother 3 is the best you've played. You're basically saying that Earthbound is underrated? No, it's definitely not underrated. It is most certainly overrated because everybody fucking loves it. Everybody loves Earthbound, so how could it be underrated? I don't like it. I think it's overrated because I think it's crappy. And you say, don't say it's crappy? So you're basically telling me, don't state your opinion on your own show, on your own channel. You know what? Fuck you, dude. Okay? Fuck you. That's all I have to say to that. I will say whatever I want. I think Earthbound is a piece of shit, and that's what I'm going to say. You're disappointed? What do you... You know what? I tell people not to reply to each other, but somebody did reply to you, named XXBroBuzzXX, said, why are you disappointed in him? It's his opinion, like it or not. I like the game, but you don't see me hate on him. I like the game, but you don't see me hate on him. See? Like, who gives a shit whether I like Earthbound or not? I don't like it, by the way. I just don't understand you people sometimes. I'm so disappointed that Necro doesn't like Earthbound. You're shocked? How could you be shocked? If you think it's underrated, here's my question to you. If you think it's underrated, I don't think you know what that word means, but if you think it's underrated, that means that you like it more than most people. So why would you be shocked that I don't like it? And don't tell me what to say. You're telling me don't say it's crappy. Guess what? It's crappy. It's a piece of shit game. Moving on. Oh boy, that was funny. John Stone New 1985 says, awesome show, Necro. Out of the FF games, what is your favorite and least favorite? I must have said this about 1,000,000 times. My favorite is 6. My least favorite is 8. Moving on. The Return of Kali Yuga asks, do you think weed should be legal? Absolutely. I don't see an issue with it. As a matter of fact, like most drugs, it used to be legal in this country. And used quite openly, and nobody really thought it was a big deal. But then there was one guy who had I think it was in the 50s. He had a real mad-on against marijuana. He really hated it for some reason. So he made a documentary called Marijuana, which he spelled it wrong in a title and everything. And he just basically made up all these effects that it was going to have on people, and a purposeful account at, creating a moral panic, which he was successful on. Like, basically he said that if you smoke reefer, as they like to call it back then you would eat your baby. There was actually if you've ever seen the Simpsons episode where Chief Wiggum was showing them the wax figures at the pot party, and the California cheeseburger, which was a baby on a bun. That was a reference to marijuana, or Reefer Madness was a movie made, I think in the 70s or maybe a little later, that was a reference to that. So basically he made up a bunch of nonsense and lied about it, and it got people into a moral outrage, thinking that marijuana was evil, and then it got the government to criminalize it. And unfortunately, it'll probably never be decriminalized fully. Personally, I have done it in the past, and it's really kind of not for me. I mean, it's not a big deal, I guess it just doesn't affect me like it affects most people. So I don't think that I would be one of those people that, oh, it's legal, I'm going to go and smoke a whole bunch of it, because who gives a shit. But I don't understand why it's illegal at this point. There's really scientifically, there's no reason for it. It's bullshit. All right, moving on. Cobra DVS says, great episode. Since you're a big RPG fan, have you played Panzer Dragoon Saga or any games in the Panzer Dragoon series? Thanks. I have not. Panzer Dragoon Saga is very rare, so I have not managed to get a copy of it. I guess I can emulate it, but it's a lot of trouble. Yeah, I've always wanted to, but that's not a common one. It's very hard to find. Hotmail527 says, what's your favorite anime? Well, you must be new. I hate anime. I don't watch it. I think anime is dumb. Moving on. Alex Shannon says, you like Nerf? You ever play any games that were freaking horrible? Do you have any startup tips for an indie review blogger? That's right. So, Nerf, I don't really care one way or the other. I never got into that. Yeah, I've played many games that are freaking horrible. Look around the channel. I mean, I've had to play E.T. and Chuck Norris Super Kicks and Crazy Bus and Hong Kong 97 and all sorts of pieces of shit. As for startup tips for an indie review blogger, I would, just say that contact indie companies and try and get them to send you the games. Say, hey, I'm starting out as a new blog and I'm looking for review copies. As a matter of fact, why don't you, once you hear this, send me a private message about this, because I do work for an indie gaming company, and if you would be willing to review our game, I would be willing to get you a review copy of it. So talk to me about that. Uber McPhailslow says, how many languages do you speak? 2, English and bad English. No, in all seriousness, I don't speak any other languages. I do have minor understandings, like if somebody put a whole bunch of Spanish in front of me, I would probably be able to decipher about 60% of it. Italian, I'm just thinking about this. I took 5 years of it. I mean, well, let's see, 3 years in junior high school, and then another 2 or 3. I forget how many in high school. I still can't speak it, but if it's written down, I might be able to decipher enough of it to get the general meaning. Japanese, just from gaming and ordering sushi, I know like a little bit, but I can't really say that I speak any other languages. So, moving on. Scorcher 1 says, did you know there is a Sonic the he put Hedgehog, I think he means Hedgehog, Sonic the Hedgehog movie. It's on YouTube on Aaron705's channel. I think he means channel. I am aware, and I don't care. So there you go. And I did know about it, so there you go. I think it's the same guy that did the Mega Man movie, which I also haven't seen. The Mega Man movie I do want to see, though. I'll eventually have the time to sit down and watch it. I've heard it was very good. As for Sonic, though, I don't care. Vintage EXP779 says, "Hiya, Necro. Thanks for your info regarding collecting in the PAL regions a few episodes ago. Just a few questions. Firstly, what do you think is the best console port of Quake or Quake 2? Also, I recently bought a GameCube, and I read somewhere you can get a compilation-type disc of some of the other Legend of Zelda games for it. Do you know anything about this? Finally, you may have answered this, but what is your favorite Rush album? Keep up the good work." Well, thank you. Console ports of Quake and Quake, just get them for PC, honestly. I think the Nintendo 64 had good versions of both of those, though. The Dreamcast possibly slightly better, but it might be a pain in the ass to get them. Well, I actually think that was only Quake 2. The compilation disc for Zelda is not easy to find because it was never sold in stores. It was given away for promotions such as pre-ordering Wind Waker or subscribing to Nintendo Power, that kind of thing. So you can probably, if you're lucky, to find a GameStop that still carries GameCube games. You might find them there because sometimes people would trade them in, so you might find a used copy. But I would recommend going on eBay. It might get kind of expensive, though, because it's somewhat rare. It has the two NES games. It has Legend of Zelda and Zelda 2 Adventure of Link, and then it also has the two N64 games. So it has Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. Now keep in mind, this is the one that's called Legend of Zelda Collector's Edition. There's another promotional disc that's called A Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time plus Master Quest, which has Ocarina of Time in its original state, and then it has the Master Quest, which is the accumulation of the Zelda project. Now, don't confuse the two. Anyway, moving on. Tower... Oh, I didn't answer your last question. My favorite Rush album is Snakes and Arrows. Tower CJK says, "Thanks for answering my questions, Necro. Great show as always. I have a few questions. Would you ever show your PC games?" No, I don't see why I would do that. And also, what was your first computer called? Now, that's going way back. I think my first computer was a Laser 128, which was basically a Commodore 64 knockoff. And I remember having some games for it, like Commando, and there was this Mickey Mouse game that was sort of like an adventure game, and there was also oh god, I think I had The Last Ninja, which was terrible. I remember playing Commando a lot, though. That was an awesome game. Had Carmen Sandiego as well. Yeah, just like, a lot of the old games. He also left me another comment. Do you like the Evil Dead movies? They're fine. I don't understand why some people gotta like totally pull their puds over them, but they're good enough. The Castle Boss says, "Hey Necro, what is your favorite Elder Scrolls race to play as in each of the games you played in the series? Thanks, great episode as always." Well, I always play a Breton, so there you go. Hans Fartknocker left me 3 questions. What is the scariest movie you have seen? That's difficult because I'm not usually scared by movies. I did think The Ring, the first Ring, was kind of freaky. But, yeah, I guess that would be it. I mean, yeah. Are there any movies you know all the lines to? I never really thought about that, to be honest. I could probably recite Star Wars, but the first one, but other than that, I don't know. All the lines, that's a, wow. And finally, have you ever been to any gaming conventions? I just got back from Gen Con. Well, that's not really a question. I'm not even going to get into it. I've never been to a gaming convention. Not yet, anyway. Mind Buddies. That's his name. He wrote, "Hey Necro, you probably already thought about this, but you should live stream all future VMX shows so you could just read comments as we type them." No, I'm not planning on doing that. I don't want to do that. That's too much of a pain in the ass, sorry to say. Mr. X Before UX says, "Legendary Pictures was making a Mass Effect movie. I have a t-shirt to prove it, but sorry to say I haven't heard a single word of it for the 2 years since I got the t-shirt. I don't really care, seeing as the movie would have to be extremely long to get across the characters from the game. That being said, they could just split into a trilogy or something." No, I don't think that it would have to be like so long. I mean, the problem is that you're thinking of it as like a straight adaptation of the game, which it should not be. You can't do that, really, because games are long. It would have to be broad strokes, you know. Now, I'm looking it up here on IMDb, and the Mass Effect movie, it says it has a release date of 2012, which is this year, but it doesn't have a cast or anything, really. It only says that Mark Protasevich wrote the screenplay, and there's no director attached either, so I'm guessing that this is probably in development hell, and if it's going to be made, it's not going to come out this year. The guy who wrote the screenplay, he also wrote screenplays for Thor and I Am Legend, Poseidon, and The Cell, so there you go, and also Jurassic Park 4, which is coming out in 2014. But yeah, it looks like it's in some sort of development hell, so there you go. Don't know what's going on there. Let's see, let's move on here. Alex Shannon says, sorry about my poor wording with my question last time. I meant to ask what you thought would happen to the industry if the following events coincided. Sony and Microsoft released the Xbox 3, theoretical name for the third Xbox, and the PlayStation 4 as locked or download-only consoles, and at the same time, Sega bought EA stock to make them a second-party developer and released a new cartridge-based... I already answered you, though. Okay, first of all, they're never going to release a cartridge-based console. Forget about cartridges. Why would you think that would happen? That would be like Sega just saying, hey, let's all just rip our balls off and eat them. I already answered you. I mean, even though you're poor wording or whatever, I already told you. So I'm going to move on. Nakuis says, great video, Necro. I agree with Mind Buddies about live Steam. I think you mean stream. But it's up to you. Anyway, I'm not going to do it. My 3DS was stolen in February, but I got a Vita for my birthday in May. Do you think I should get the 3DS XL because I still have all my games, and I think the games on the 3DS are great? And also, you talk about Skyrim on Wii U. What about Mass Effect 3? What about it? Are you buying a Vita anytime soon? Sorry for bad grammar. Not anytime soon, but I do want one. The 3DS XL, I mean, why go specifically for the XL? Do you want it to be really huge? If you want it, get it. I mean, I'm not going to tell you whether or not to get it. You're the one who had it and played it. I mean, you have all the games, so that they're not doing you any good there. Moving on. Dark Hill Pick 28 says, 2 questions. Are you a fan of John Hughes movies? And if so, what is your favorite film of his? And 2, what do you like more, The Daily Show or The Colbert Report? Oh, man. All right, I want to answer your second question first. I don't like either of those shows. I think they're stupid. The Daily Show was once great, back when Craig Kilborn was the host. And then when Jon Stewart came along, at first it was pretty good, but then it just declined very quickly. As for John Hughes movies, honestly, I'm going to be honest here, I mean, he did Ferris Bueller's Day Off, which was a good one. He did Uncle Buck, which was a good one. But most of his movies are the kind of thing that I don't even bother seeing, you know? So there you have it. So, just 2 films out of his 8 that he's directed, you know? Armageddon Time. It says, hey, Necro, good show as always. Got a question for you. Are there any video games, old or new, that you truly have a lot of fun playing through, but the game itself gets a bad rap? I have been asked this before. And he says, P.S. When I heard the game Earthbound mentioned last episode, I knew I was in for a good time afterwards. Well, I guess he had another good time this week. Games that got a bad rap that I enjoy. I'm trying to think here, actually, because I know there has to be some. You know, I'll have to get back to you on that. I can't think of any off the top of my head. So I'm just going to move on. Tudorata says, what is your favorite Opeth lineup? Mine would be Mikhail Ackerfeld, Peter Lindgren, Martin Mendez, Martin Lopez, and of course Steven Wilson. Now, I'm a little behind on the whole Opeth thing because I didn't like the Heritage album. But I'm pretty sure that Steve Wilson was never a member of Opeth. I mean, I know that he produced a number of their albums, but I don't think that he ever was actually a member of Opeth. So you're talking about, you got Mikhail Ackerfeld, Peter Lindgren, Martin Mendez, Martin Lopez. So basically you're missing, well, let's see, obviously Mikhail was the singer and he played guitar, and Peter Lindgren, he was the other guitarist, and then you had Martin Mendez, I think he was the drummer. No, Martin Lopez was the drummer. Martin Mendez is the bassist, and he's still in the band. So you're missing, well, that's actually the full lineup, basically, right there. That they added a keyboardist later on. So that would be Joachim Svalberg. He plays keyboards, but they didn't have keyboards on the old albums. Well, then again, they had Per Wihlberg. I actually would say that your lineup plus Per Wihlberg is my favorite lineup. So basically the lineup of... well, actually, wait a minute, because by the time Per Wihlberg came around, Martin Lopez was gone. So you know what, I'm going to say just the four you mentioned, not Steven Wilson. He was never a member of Opeth. So basically that would be the lineup of, I believe, Still Life through Deliverance and Damnation. Because I think after Damnation was when they started to have a lot of lineup changes. My favorite album by them is Still Life, so there you have it. Let's see, Mr. Undercover Jesus. What a weird name. Mr. Undercover Jesus says, another awesome show, Nick, where I was pleased to hear you're a Genesis fan, as I love them myself. On that note, I have to ask you, Peter Gabriel or Phil Collins when it comes to solo careers? Definitely Peter Gabriel. Not that I don't like Phil Collins' solo stuff, but Peter Gabriel blows him out of the water. He says, I was on the fence with this until I saw Peter Gabriel live, totally blowing me away. Yeah, he's good live. Slasher Dude 100 says, hey Necro, good episode. Here's my question. What do you think of DC making Watchmen prequels? Alan Moore hates the idea and said anyone who reads them are not true fans. Will you read them or not read them? Well, Alan Moore is a bit of a drama queen, but I'm not going to say I agree with him in the sense that you're not a true fan if you read it, but I don't have any desire to read these. I am not interested at all in the Watchmen prequels. I think that they should just have left that whole bit alone. You know, they do have some really great creators attached to this, but I think that as a story, you have all the prequel you need. And, you know, what's sad is that there's so much of it in the Before Watchmen project. There's so much of it that in the end, there's going to be way more issues of the prequels than the actual story. So that kind of, you know, that kind of chaps my ass a little bit. So I have no plans to read those. Red Devil Dazzy 2007 says, good episode, Necro. Nice job on the news. Thanks. Okay. WWE Nintendo Fan 01 says, so Necro. Last random questions for the season. You know there's 12 episodes, right? It's not 10. It was great to do this thing and being known by this. Now here they are. I don't think this is the last one. I think you're going to give me more. Number 1, have you done a cartwheel? No, I've never done a cartwheel. Number 2, have you ever beat the crap out of expert people in the arcade by just pushing buttons when you were a freaking kid? I know I did. No. I've seen one of my cousins do that at Virtua Fighter, but then again, Virtua Fighter is one of those games where you just press buttons anyway. 3, how did you get the idea for the VMX show? Did you meant it to communicate with your fans by this, or was it for any other purpose? You know, because this is the last episode. It's not the last episode. I got 2 more. It's 12 episodes per season. I'm out. Peace. Yeah. Basically, it's partly what you said, to communicate with subscribers, and partly just because I wanted to do a podcast. Moving on. Kakarot 1436 says, also, have you played Castlevania Harmony of Despair on... Oh, he's replying to himself. Why do you do this? Okay, alright. First he says, I haven't played the newer Wii GoldenEye, but I have played the Xbox 360 one. That is pretty much the same. I love it. Well, it's pretty much the same, though. All they did was take the Nintendo 60... Oh, wait, hold on. You're talking about GoldenEye Reloaded. Yeah, that was pretty cool. He says, what is your favorite album by Rush? Somebody else already asked me that, and I answered it. In this episode, too. And also, if you played Castlevania Harmony of Despair for Xbox Live Arcade, I think I may have asked you this in another video. And I probably answered you, no, I haven't, and I don't have any plans to play it because I don't play multiplayer online games. And finally, the 7K production says, okay, 3 questions. 1, have you seen Matt Pat's video where he talks about Polybius? Well, he puts Polybus, but I'm pretty sure he means Polybius. It's very interesting, and I'd like to hear what you think. I have no intention of talking about Polybius any more than I already have. I think I said everything that I need to say on the video that I did. I don't really want to watch anybody else's video on it, so there you go. 2, if you had to choose between being a toaster or a post-it note, which would you be? I guess I'd be a toaster. That's a weird question. And 3, what is your opinion? Sorry, let me read this again. What, in your opinion, is the dumbest meme? Oh, hell, take your pick, man. Right now, it's whatever is being horribly overused at the moment, and right now it's the whole Bane, when blah 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 happens and you have my permission to die. It's just stupid, That's right now the overused dumbass meme. So that's it for questions and comments. Send me your questions and comments. This is not the last episode. There are 12 episodes in each season of the VMX show. There always have been. And there always will be. So there you go. Let's move on to the news. But send me your questions and comments right on this video here. I don't have a whole lot of news, but what I do have is interesting. First off, my lead-off story here is about Nintendo Power. Nintendo Power is going to be closing its doors. They're done. The last issue of Nintendo Power will be the December 2012 issue. Personally, I know a lot of people who are going to be picking it up just to have that little piece of history, the last issue of Nintendo Power. Yeah, it's kind of a big deal. I mean, it's not a surprise because, some people, of course, are screaming about the death of Nintendo, which is silly, but very silly. But it's really what it is it's the death of video game magazines as a whole. The only video game magazine that's really thriving is Game Informer, and that's only because of its affiliation with GameStop. Nintendo Power had been published for 24 years. So, yeah. This was confirmed by Chris Hoffman, who works for the magazine. He confirmed this on Twitter, and also Phil Theobald, who writes for the magazine, also confirmed it through Twitter, and definitely the last issue will be the December one, so you might want to look into that. There's some talks about it maybe going digital, but there you go. I am not at all interested in the Kinect, but if you are interested in it, I can let you know that it has now gone through a price drop. The Kinect is now $109.99 in the U.S., which is a $40 drop from what it was previously, which was $150. It's $110 now. So there you go. If you that's only in America, along with South America and the Asian Pacific regions, and apparently in October the price will drop in Australia and New Zealand. So there you go. Europe and Japan, there's no plans for a price drop. So although in Japan, I don't think anybody's buying the Kinect anyway. So there you go. Final Fantasy. I have a little bit of news on Final Fantasy. The iOS game, Final Fantasy Dimensions, I have a release date for that, if you care. I saw it. It looks, like really generic, to be honest, and it's on iOS, so I officially don't care about it. But if you want Final Fantasy Dimensions, this is coming from iOS now. You get the prologue for free, and then it's going to be chapters, kind of like what After Years was. And Chapter 1 will be $3, and then the remaining chapters will be $10. And if you want the whole thing, you can get it for $28.99. So there you go. And the release date for that, I did have a release date somewhere here. I thought I had a release date. I wrote down that I have a release date, but I'm not seeing it anywhere in my notes here. So hold on a second, let me look for this. Oh, here we go. It's August 31st. So there you go. If you want to get an old school type RPG on August 31st, you might want to look at Chronicles of a Dark Lord instead, because that's also being released on August 31st, the definitive version of Episode 1, Tides of Fate. My other Final Fantasy news has to do with Final Fantasy XIII as a series, because it really is a series at this point. And we know that on September 1st, so I guess I'll be talking about this next week. On September 1st, there's going to be a major announcement as to the next game. But they've been showing, these images saying a storm gathers. It's going to have something to do with Lightning's story. They're, developing something. So I don't know what is going on there. But I just want to say that they're saying that they're going to continue the story in a new direction. I'm not sure what that means. If you have Steam, and there's really no excuse for you not to have Steam, the Basement Collection is coming on August 31st to Steam. Now this is cool. The Basement Collection is basically a collection of early games from Edmund McMillan, who is one of the founding members of Team Meat. And basically it's all the games he worked on before his big breakout hit, which was Super Meat Boy, and then he went on to create The Binding of Isaac. So games that we know, Time Fuck, Spewer, Grey Matter, Triachnid, Coil, and Meat Boy. Not Super Meat Boy, but the original Meat Boy, which is not as well known. But all those games are in what's called the Basement Collection, which is coming for Steam for both PC and Mac for $4 on August 31st. So after you buy Chronicles of a Dark Lord, if you have any left over, $4, you should probably pick that up because it's pretty cool. And if you've been following the presidential election, the battle royale between Barack Obama and Mitt Romney, you've been probably following this on your television or perhaps on your computer, but now you can do it on your Xbox. The Xbox 360 will have election coverage beginning August 27th, which is tomorrow. Xbox Live members will be able to access a new area on the dashboard called the Election 2012 Hub, which will include news coverage as provided by NBC, some information about the candidates, polls, live coverage, debates, that convention coverage, that kind of thing. Personally, I think it's weird. You're on your television, right? You might as well just watch TV, but it's I guess it's a good thing. All right. Nintendo is doing something really stupid at PAX. PAX, of course, is the Penny Arcade Expo. This is to commemorate the 20th anniversary of Kirby. They're going to have, they want to round up at least 305 people at the PAX Prime Expo Hall Q area to beat the Guinness World Record for most people blowing a chewing gum bubble simultaneously. The fact that there is a record for that, that's pretty terrible. The record is 304 people. There will be an official Guinness adjudicator on site to verify the attempt's success or failure. I don't see how it could fail. You just give everybody bubble gum and tell them to blow a bubble, and they'll do it. There'll be some asshole in a Kirby suit walking around. Wow. I don't know what to say to that. That is so dumb. Yeah, finally, I have some news. If you've been following the Sega Vintage Collections on Xbox Live, it looks like Sega Vintage Collection 4 is coming because achievements have shown up for Toe Jam and Earl, which were under the tag of Sega Vintage Collection. So that suggests that not only is there going to be a Sega Vintage Collection 4, but Toe Jam and Earl will be a part of it. The last Sega Vintage Collection came out earlier. That was Sega Vintage Collection 4, and that had Super Hang-On, Alex Kidd in Miracle World, Revenge of Shinobi, and whatnot. So there's been no official announcement, but once achievements show up, you pretty much know what's going to happen. So that's it for the news. I'm going to move on to sales figures, assuming that I hopefully actually have the sales figures for all regions. I have them for all regions this time. I don't know what happened last week. So let's talk about the top 10 best-selling games in Japan for the week ending in August 19th. The top-selling game was New Super Mario Bros. 2 for the 3DS. That sold 150,408 copies. Pokemon Black and White version 2 for the DS sold 60,120 copies. Dragon Quest X for the Wii sold 46,402 copies. Ouch. Just Dance Wii 2 on the Wii sold 23,737 copies. Really long title in Japanese that somebody was lucky enough. I was lucky enough that somebody told me translates to Brain Age Demon Edition. So Brain Age Demon Edition on the 3DS, that sold 20,770 copies. Taiko no Tatsujin Chibi Dragon no Fushugi na Orb on the 3DS sold 19,645 copies. Tosocho Seijo Sakyu no Hunter Tachikara Nigakiri, that's on the 3DS, and it sold 14,895 copies. Wii Sports Resort on the Wii sold 14,777 copies. Kirby's Dream Collection Special Edition on the Wii sold 13,108 copies. And Kabito Zuken Kabito Kansatsu Set, that's on the 3DS, and that sold 12,668 copies. In Europe, the top-selling game was also New Super Mario Bros. 2 on the 3DS. That sold 156,050 copies. Sleeping Dogs on the Xbox 360 sold 65,943 copies. Sleeping Dogs on PlayStation 3 sold 59,692 copies. Darksiders 2 on PlayStation 3 sold 41,714 copies. London 2012, the official video game of the Olympic Games on Xbox 360, sold 32,549 copies. London 2012, the official video game of the Olympic Games on PlayStation 3, sold 28,924 copies. Darksiders 2 on Xbox 360 sold 22,743 copies. Mario Kart 7 on the 3DS sold 19,014 copies. Lego Batman 2 DC Superheroes on the Xbox 360 sold 16,815 copies, and Super Mario 3D Land on the 3DS sold 16,592 copies. In America, the top-selling game was Darksiders 2 on the Xbox 360, which sold 155,000 copies. Darksiders 2 on PlayStation 3 sold 118,702 copies. Sleeping Dogs on Xbox 360 sold 74,036 copies. The Last Story on the Wii sold 68,113 copies. Sleeping Dogs on the PlayStation 3 sold 47,430 copies. Kingdom Hearts 3D Dream Drop Distance on the 3DS sold 24,789 copies. Wii Sports on the Wii sold 60,057 copies. NCAA Football 13 on the Xbox 360 sold 15,906 copies. MLB 12 The Show on PlayStation 3 sold 14,733 copies, and Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 on the Xbox 360 sold 13,328 copies. So globally, the top-selling game was New Super Mario Bros. 2, followed by Darksiders 2 for Xbox, and then for PS3, that would actually be the top-selling game if you put them together. Sleeping Dogs, then on 360 first, then on PS3. I believe that would also, actually I'm not sure, that would come very close to topping Mario if you mix them together. The Last Story, Pokemon, Dragon Quest, and then the Olympics game, first on PS3, then on 360. For hardware, in Japan, the top-selling console was, of course, the 3DS with 107,591 units moved. The PlayStation 3 moved 18,621 units. The Wii moved 15,090 units. The PlayStation Portable, 13,239 units. The Vita, 11,669 units. The DS, 1,781 units. And the Xbox 360, 843 units. In Europe, the top-selling console was also the 3DS that moved 88,162 units. The PlayStation 3 moved 51,682 units. The Xbox 360 moved 33,882 units. The Wii moved 17,474 units. The PlayStation Vita moved 12,236 units. The DS moved 8,577 units. And the PlayStation Portable moved 7,645 units. In America, the top-selling console was the Xbox 360, which moved 57,361 units. The PlayStation 3 moved 42,799 units. The 3DS moved 31,408 units. The Wii, 19,815 units. The DS, 15,772 units. The Vita, 10,477 units. And the PlayStation Portable, 2,229 units. So globally, the top-selling console was the 3DS, followed by the PlayStation 3, the Xbox 360, the Wii, the Vita, the PSP, and then the DS. So, the last thing that I'm going to talk about, since this is not the last show of the season, but the last show of the month, this being the month of August, I'm going to go over releases for September. So let's talk about what's released in September, what games we have to look forward to. So this is what's coming out in September. On September 4th, we'll see the release of Zen Pinball 2. That's coming out for PlayStation 3 and PlayStation Vita. September 5th, we'll see the release of Lord of the Rings Online Riders of Rohan for Windows. September 11th, we'll see the release of NHL 13 for PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360, and Tekken Tag Tournament 2 for PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. September 13th, we'll see the release of I Am Alive. That's coming for Windows. September 18th, we got a bunch of games. Baldur's Gate Enhanced Edition is coming to Windows, Mac, iOS, and Android devices. Borderlands 2 is coming to Windows, PlayStation 3, and Xbox 360. F1 2012 is coming out for Windows, PlayStation 3, and Xbox 360. And Jet Set Radio HD is coming to PlayStation Network. On September 19th, Jet Set Radio HD will be coming to Windows and Xbox Live Arcade. Bunch of releases over in September 25th. Dead or Alive 5 will be coming to PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. Family Guy Back to the Multiverse will be coming out on PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. Can't believe they made another Family Guy game. FIFA 13 will be coming to Windows, Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, and Wii. Little Big Planet PS Vita will be coming to, guess it, the PS Vita. One Piece Pirate Warriors will be coming to PlayStation 3. The Testament of Sherlock Holmes will be coming to Windows, PlayStation 3, and Xbox 360. Tokyo Jungle will be coming to PSN, PlayStation Network, and World of Warcraft Mists of Pandaria will be coming to Windows and Mac. And finally, on September 28th, Euro Truck Simulator 2 will be coming to Windows. So not a whole lot of exciting things, really, coming out. Borderlands 2 is probably the most exciting game coming out in September, but there you have it. That's the show for this week. So leave me your questions and comments, and I'll answer them next week. Hope you had a good time. NecroVMX out.